Hello again, I'm Remo Pabalan, one of your instructors for Principles and Strategies of Teaching in Medical Laboratory Science. As you remember, our first part, the traditional teaching, was discussed. For this part, the part 2, another teaching strategy will be discussed, which is the activity-based teaching strategy. In activity-based teaching strategies, these require the learners to do more than just listening. The learners can create and store up knowledge for themselves. Activity-based teaching strategies include cooperative learning, simulations which can be done through exercise, game, role-playing and case studies, problem-based learning, and self-learning modules. In cooperative learning, it involves small groups of learners working together in achieving a shared goal. They are also aware that they should work together because they are responsible not only for their own learning, but also for that of the others in the group. To be able to be successful in achieving your goals, cooperation from each member should be observed and expected. Formal groups are most useful in academic settings. An example is during research and thesis. Informal groups can be done in any setting. An example is during patient education situations like teaching childbirth or proper breastfeeding to soon-to-be mothers. After giving or teaching them or giving them lectures, you could group them into 4 and let them discuss among themselves what they have just learned from the given lecture. In base groups, an example of this is during a new staff orientation in a company. They are usually asked to form groups of 4 to 5 to meet for an hour to share experiences, encourage each other, and monitor each other's progress. After the official orientation is completed, encourage them to continue meeting as a group or as a base group to support each other in the transition. On the current slide are the purpose of formal, informal, and base group, as well as their respective length of existence. Since it is cooperative learning, which each of the group members should and are expected to contribute something for the group, so each of them can learn to function as part of a team. Sometimes, some group members tend to be dependent on their group mates, and others become bossy or dominating. Thus, with cooperative learning, the group is also learning how to deal with people and enhance their social skills by interacting with one another. Cooperative learning can also promote critical thinking among the members of the group. They discuss issues, explain their reasoning, question each other, analyze, and they begin to evaluate each other's position and reasoning, whether which one is correct or should be accepted, or which one is to be rejected and chosen. A simulation is a form of experiential learning wherein it is the application of theories and principles learned to real-world experiences. They are instructional scenarios where the learner is placed in a world that is defined by the teacher. An example of this is during your phlebotomy class, which you will be having on your second year in college. One of you will act as the patient and the other one will be the phlebotomist or medical technologist. You will act out what is supposed to happen in a hospital or clinical setting. This is a form of a role-play activity, which is one of the 4 types of simulations. A simulation exercise is an interactive exercise that tests the capability of an organization to respond to a simulated situation. While simulation games are activities in a form of a game, where the learners are active and can either win or lose in achieving a particular objective. This can also help them enhance collaboration and strategize to succeed in a particular objective. On the other hand, role-playing is a form of a spontaneous drama where learners act out a certain role to demonstrate a viewpoint. Furthermore, case studies enhance the learner's analysis. A situation is given and the learners are required to analyze the case and identify certain problems or gaps that need to be solved. An example of a simulation exercise is a laboratory simulation providing care using mannequins. Simulation games examples are crossword puzzles that aim to teach terminologies. Another example are quiz bees. A disadvantage of this for some is they dislike the competition that games promote, and others dislike this technique because it is time-consuming. Role-playing develops the quality of empathy because learners are allowed to step into the shoes of other people and gain insight into the perspective of other people. This also helps them understand the social problems of groups of people who are different from them. An example is a patient with cancer and problems that are encountered in healthcare settings. In role plays, teachers also assess the awareness of the learners regarding a particular situation. An example is a role play of the elderly with physical limitations. Case studies are often done in our course to apply all the principles that were discussed during the class and encourages critical thinking to the learners. Simulations are helpful in decision-making, especially during case studies, simulation games, and exercises because the learner should make decisions on what to do to strategize the game. They also develop interaction skills, which usually happen during role-playing or discussions for case studies. They also help in enhancing or developing psychomotor skills. Examples are in simulation exercises for CPR or first aid. The learners are usually tasked to demonstrate and practice without worrying about harming another person. And another example is during earthquake or fire drills. The learners learn the things that they should do without the risk of being in a real earthquake or fire scenario. The role of an educator is very crucial during simulation activities. 3 facets should be properly done to facilitate successful simulations. First one is planning. Begins with choosing or developing an appropriate simulation that will meet the learning objectives. Second one is facilitating. After introducing the activity, take the back seat and talk relatively little, and you could also help them or give them advices. You can take down notes so that after the activity, you could discuss the strengths, weaknesses, or corrections of the learners. The last one is debriefing. It is the final discussion. It should occur immediately while it is still fresh on the learner's mind. A summary should also be done after the simulation activity. Problem-based learning is a student-centered approach in which students learn by working in groups to solve a problem. In solving the problem, this is what drives their motivation and learning. It provides a structure for discovery that leads the learners to greater comprehension. If you have noticed, PBL or problem-based learning is almost similar to the case study. The tables shown to you are the differences between PBL and case study. In case studies, the students have already learned the background or knowledge, while PBL has only a little background about the subject matter. And cases for case studies are usually long and detailed compared to those cases in PBL. Self-learning modules are also called self-direct learning modules, self-paced learning modules, self-learning packets, or individualized learning activity packages. A very good example of this is the modules that the Department of Education uses during this pandemic, as well as the modules that we have uploaded at My Class for our online classes. Learners that use the same module will reach the same learning outcome. Self-learning modules should have an introduction and clear instructions, so learners who are motivated to learn on their own are the best targets for this learning method. The learner can choose to work on these modules at her own pace and time. For the components of self-learning modules, an introduction and instructions are very significant. The significance of each module is discussed and how to go through with the module itself. Objectives should also be specific so that the learners, as well as the teachers, will know what is expected and whether it has been achieved at the end of the module. Learning activities are designed to help learners achieve the objectives. To address various learning styles, you may choose some learning activities that are visual, auditory, and tactile. This may include reading textbook chapters, reviewing handouts, questions, watching a video or a slide presentation, using a computer program, or participating in a group discussion. And before using the self-learning modules, a pilot testing should be done to determine if there are unforeseen snags or flaws in the module, and will give you an idea of the amount of time it will take for the learner to complete all the activities. This can be done by having 1 or 2 people work through the module. As an ending for this presentation, I just would like to end this quote from Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. We must remember that for us to learn, we have to do it and experience it to learn. May this be your guide that in teaching, we have to engage the learners, encourage them, and make learning as more memorable as possible. So as a summary for this topic, the effective teaching is based on the strategies of the educator. This can be done through various ways, such as what we have already discussed, the traditional and activity-based teaching strategy, which was just recently discussed. Regardless of what kind of strategy that we use, we should always remember to work together as a teacher and as a learner to collaborate for an effective teaching and learning experience. The next presentation will be the continuation of the other teaching strategies. If you have any questions about this presentation, please feel free to approach your instructors. Thank you and God bless.